Tuesday, the 28th of November, 1995. And true to form, Madonna speaks her mind.
Today, with Steve Liebman and Kim Watkins.
And welcome to our second hour. Madonna spoke exclusively with Richard Wilkins in New York last week, and we have part one of that interview straight after the news and the weather.
We do indeed. That should be great. Also in this hour...
Again, with Richard Wilkins. He has a special interview in the can.
I do, Steve. Thank you for that. Good morning once again. Last week I flew to New York City to interview Madonna, arguably the most famous woman in the world, undeniably one of the true superstars of our time. With over 100 million albums sold, her every word reported and many of them criticised. Madonna's offended just about everyone in one way or another over the years, but in this exclusive interview she defends her actions and makes no apologies. Her new album of ballads sits at #1 on the charts, and she certainly is something to remember.
Think that you've destroyed my faith in love. You think after all you've done, I'll never find my way back home.
Did you see it as at all risky in career terms, an album of ballads?
Yeah, actually, in a way, but I like to take risks. So, I think risky in that people expect everything I do to be really cutting edge and shocking and this and that, and in fact, I don't think that this record is. So, in that respect, it is taking a risk.
You say on the liner notes that often your music is overshadowed by the controversy, and that this time you want to do it simpler in a more straight-ahead kind of way. Did you achieve that?
Yeah.
A lot of that controversy, of course, you've created over the years, though, haven't you?
That I have.
So you sort of, you still like the controversy, but you really
Well, I think sometimes that what happened is that I was always, I always thought that the music was just as important, but I would be dealing with controversial issues, whether it's racism or dealing with sexuality, things like that. And a lot of times people would get distracted by the issues that I was sort of spearheading instead of, and what I wanted them to do was sort of have their buttons pushed, but also at the same time, like, get into the music, but people really couldn't do that. Was, I think, asking a bit too much of people.
Of course, we talk about Madonna growing up, and there's been a more mature album. You've grown up literally in front of the public, and we've seen, all the facets of your career. Has it been fun?
Yeah, fun. That's one of the adjectives I would throw in there. It's been fun. It's difficult to grow up in the public eye too. It's difficult to make mistakes. It's difficult to constantly be, sort of be judged with a different set of rules, but I've had a lot of good times too. I mean, and I hope to continue to.
When you put an album like this together with highlights of your career and the Immaculate Collection and all that, how do you feel looking back at your body of work?
I just say, wow, because every song represents a different time in my life, and I can remember the room I was in when I wrote it, and who I was in love with, and what I was doing, and to me, it's like reading it through a journal of my life, and it just makes me stop for a minute and think, God, I've lived such an incredible life, and I've experienced so many things.
Is there much that you would change if you could do it all again? Anything? Not as scary?
No.
Are you embarrassed by anything you've done?
Not at all. No, because I think the feelings that I have are very human, and people can relate to them.
When you call my name, it's like a little prayer. I'm down on my knees. I wanna take you there.
But you found fame later in life than a lot of people.
Yeah.
Do you think that helped you handle the whole thing?
Absolutely. I had a chance to grow up before it was all thrust in my face. Yeah. And there were years and years and years of struggling and trying to survive on my own, and I think it made me a stronger person so that when it did happen, I could handle it all.
It seemed like, I don't know if it was fate or something, but every magazine you pick up or newspaper, there's something about you, whether it's just a little reference or something.
Mm-hmm.
You probably are the most famous woman in the world. How the hell does that feel?
It's not something that I think about very much. In fact, I only think about it when people say something to me about it, like, do you realize you are, type of a thing. But it sort of feels like it's not connected to me, like it's a whole other entity, and I mean, fame does. On the other hand, I'm reminded of it on a regular basis because I too open up those magazines and read them, and I just think, oh, God, you know, can't they just shut up about me? But then it's good. It's good too. I don't think being the most famous woman in the world is something that anyone should aspire to, because it is, as you know, a very precarious position to be in, because once you're at the top, everyone wants to shoot you down. And you have to have a lot of resilience and a lot of courage and an incredible sense of humor to deal with it all. And there are a lot of times when I wish I wasn't famous.
What has been more fun, getting there or staying there?
Oh, well, getting there is a lot more fun. It's a lot more work to stay there. Yeah, because everyone's discovering you as you go, and you have a lot more support from people, and people always want to root for the underdog. They always want to cheer you along the way, and then once you get on the top, they're, you know.
People are looking for angles to kind of knock you and put you down.
Yeah.
Why do they do that?
I don't know, I think it's just human nature, you know? I think people start to feel uncomfortable if you're too happy and too successful and too, you know how people are. Everybody loves, that's why people love to read the National Enquirer. I mean, people love reading about other people's misery.
I have truth on my side. You only have deceit. You'll see somehow, someday.
Madonna there with You'll See. That's her current video from the #1 album around the country, Something to Remember. And tomorrow here on the Today Show, Madonna talks about motherhood, the man in her life, her marketing skills, sexual prejudice, her 8-year battle to win the part of Evita, and more. So lots more good stuff coming up from the lady herself.
Sounds like the best is yet to come.
Oh, well, yeah, she's just a very interesting, complex person. It was a great thrill to be able to sit down and put those good questions to her.
Yeah, she was quite level-headed, really, wasn't she?
Yeah, she's... Good morning to you. Today we have more from the First Lady of Showbiz, Madonna. One of the world's most controversial and outspoken performers, she's pushed boundaries and many would agree, crossed over a few. While her next project is the movie Evita, her current album, Something to Remember, is a collection of ballads released without the fanfare or the sort of hype which has surrounded most of her work. The sex book, a body of evidence movie, the documentary In Bed with Madonna, or her album, Erotica.
Romance.
I like to do a different kind of
If ever you gave the public a chance to kind of knock you, it was the sex and the body of evidence and all that stuff. Did you think you kind of crossed that fine line at any stage around there?
Well, I knew that I was going to cross the line by doing it. I mean, I knew I was getting into a very shady area. I knew I was dealing with a lot of taboo subjects, and I knew that it was going to upset a lot of people, but I felt that it needed to be done, so I did it.
To what specifically, then?
To censorship, to sexual, you know, oppression, to the kind of prejudice that say, for instance, the gay community has to deal with. I think that minorities needed somebody who's popular that people looked up to step forward and say, this is okay. It's okay to feel this way. It's okay to be this way. It's okay to have sexual fantasies. It's okay to be gay. It's okay to be bisexual. It's okay to be all of these things, because when we are constantly told to be ashamed of our feelings, then everyone's living a lie, and this feeling manifests itself in very unhealthy ways. And I don't think that's good.
Because of the publicity and your perceived preoccupation with sex, most people, I think, and forgive me if I'm being offensive, but most people probably perceive you as being promiscuous. How does that feel?
Well,
I mean, do you
I
agree?
know it's not true, so what...
But do you agree that you have maybe prompted people to feel that way?
No, I just think that it shows how ignorant people are and how people aren't really listening to what I have to say. Because what I'm saying is that you should feel comfortable with your sexuality and that you shouldn't be ashamed of it. I'm not telling everybody to go out and, you know, have orgies every night with people. I mean, that's ludicrous. I don't think people are really listening to what I have to say.
Do you feel a responsibility to your fans to kind of be a good person?
Well, I feel a responsibility to myself to be a good person. And hopefully that in turn will inspire people.
Often people say that Madonna's, more than the music, she's manipulated the media and she's shrewd and clever and all that sort of stuff. Does that hurt when people put your marketing ability, which you undeniably have, before the music?
It doesn't really hurt me, it just annoys me. And I would think that, I mean, I would hope that I'm a clever and shrewd person. I mean, how can you survive this business if you're not? How can you be a businesswoman if you're not? And everyone, all artists manipulate. I mean, you paint a painting, you know how, I mean, you write, you paint, you act, everything that you do, everything that's an expression, to a certain extent, I think people unconsciously know how it's going to affect people. I think it's impossible to not be manipulative to a certain extent. I think we all do it in our everyday life.
When I was coming over to do this interview, I asked a lot of people, what does the world want to know about Madonna?
You mean like what, like randomly on the airplane? Or?
No, like people in the office and friends and stuff. Because often you get some nice things that, you know,
You
us
wouldn't
people
normally.
don't think of. Everyone wants to know about, like, who's she going out with, all that stuff. What's the answer?
Well, I've been dating this man. His name is Carlos. What do you want to know?
Oh, I've got to tell them more than that. See how I was blamed that question on other people, which is a bit of a cop-out, isn't it? But people are fascinated.
I've been dating him for about a year. I met him in Central Park. He used to race bicycles professionally, and now he's studying to be an actor. And what can I say?
Do you plan on having kids, having a family?
Yeah.
When?
Well, I got a movie to make first, but definitely, like, one of the things I want more than anything.
Because without wishing to raise the terrible subject, I mean, we're all getting old and there's biological clocks ticking over and all that stuff. Do you feel pressure to kind of do that stuff soon?
Yes.
So what are you going to do about it? Make a movie and then maybe think about it?
Uh-huh.
Have you thought how it's going to be for a little thing to have you as a mum? A mom?
Yeah.
What do you think about
I think that whoever my child is a very lucky person. Because I think I'm going to be a great mother.
Have you thought about how you would like to be remembered? You know, what would you like as your something for people to remember you by? An epitaph almost.
As a survivor.
So there you go, Madonna looking forward to her future with all the energy and passion with which she's embraced every facet of her life and career. Up close, she's charming and she's witty, small in stature but large in persona. I hope you enjoyed meeting Madonna as much as I did.